This week's guest is Geralyn Dreyfous. If you've seen An Amazing Documentary, Geralyn probably had something to do with it. 2 of the films she's funded have won Oscars, Born into Brothels and Navalny. Also, Franca, Chaos and Creation, one of my favorites, A Hunting Ground, Icarus, Athlete A. She's in charge of so much storytelling, especially and specifically for women and social issues and making change. And she has worked with Gloria Steinem and Jane Fonda. So that's our GOAT. It makes us feel like we're friends with Jane Fonda and Gloria Steinem, manifesting them on the show. So enjoy this week's episode of The OK Sweetie Show. Love ya. Okay, sweetie. Okay, sweetie. Okay, sweetie. Okay, sweetie. Okay, sweetie. The OK Sweetie Show.
People come with sleeping bags and they end up sleeping in the park and watching a movie. Oh my God, that's so cool. Yeah, it's fun.
How do you feel about Sundance moving to Boulder?
I was sad about it. I mean, selfishly, I wanted to stay in Utah.
Yeah.
I personally don't think it was a good move to do right now. The business is just way too volatile right now to take risks.
To take a big risk like that, yeah. Okay, so you're getting into Killing Me Softly.
Yeah, so I went to college. I graduated in 1984. And there was a movie that completely changed my life, and it was called Killing Me Softly, and it was about how women were represented in the media. And I remember, okay, that's what I'm gonna major in sociology of women in media.
Because of that movie?
Yeah, because of that movie. And it was very dated, but it was really sort of the hypersexualization of women. And if you watch that now, it's so tame compared to what happens in advertising for women and girls.
When you watch Killing Me Softly or Misrepresentation?
Killing Me Softly. Even Misrepresentation now compared to what's happening, on the internet and how girls and boys are being micro-targeted with, advertising, sort of slut shaming or,
Yeah, we watched it last night. We watched most of it last night. And I was like, this isn't even considering social media. Like, it was talking about Photoshop, and I'm like, and it's as easy as like an app now.
Yeah.
And like I'm like guilty of doing that for sure.
Yeah.
Where did you go to college?
I went to Harvard.
I was just testing you to see if you would say I went to school in Boston or if you were going to say I went to Harvard.
Yeah,
because some people like do.
I know, that's a whole thing. I think it's weird.
But what'd you get on your SATs to get into Harvard?
This is a very funny story. I had the worst SAT scores, and the only reason I got into Harvard was because I started working as a senior in high school on a piece of legislation called Truth in Testing. When I was in high school, you got your SAT scores, and you didn't know what you got right, and you didn't know what you got wrong. And it was right at the time that the Princeton Review started tutoring, and I couldn't afford tutoring, and I was a terrible tester. I literally, my verbal was 540, and my math was like 480.
Okay.
So I wasn't even...
That's like 1,000.
Yeah, 1,000. So, I mean, it was terrible.
Yeah.
I was testifying before the state legislature.
That's amazing.
In Massachusetts, and the director of admissions at Harvard was the next person to speak. And I was saying, I think my verbal aptitude is much better than 540, and I continued to be very highfalutin in my vocabulary, and people were laughing. And
you're in high school.
I was in high school. And so the guy that comes up next said, I agree with everything that she just said, and that SATs are not good predictors of leadership, or the only thing that they predict is first semester grades. And Geralyn would like to have lunch with you afterwards. And he turned out to be the director of admissions at Harvard, and he sat me down and he said, I'll accept you today.
Oh my God.
If you promise to take math tutoring and a creative writing class. I'm like, done.
Done. Signed right, whatever it's called.
I got into Harvard because my SAT scores were so bad.
Did you have any aspirations of going to an Ivy like that?
No.
Or it just kind of lined up? Because you were the only one in your...
I was the first female in 7 generations.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
I never would have applied to Harvard. My guidance counselor said, you'll never get in.
Yeah.
Right? And
how was it for you when you were there? Light work?
Harvard is a funny place. It's very intimidating. Literally the first week in school, everybody asks you, what's your name?
What'd you get on the SATs?
What's your father do for a living? And what did you get on your SATs?
Literally. And you're like, he's a teacher, and I got 1,000.
My dad's a football coach, and it's none of your business what my SAT score was.
That's crazy. Did you make friends?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I mean, it was fine. I have some of my best friends are still from college.
I would have a hard time like in an environment like that where everything is so competitive, I guess, or comparison based.
What it is it's more that it's transactional. It's like a status thing. It's telling you, like, when I moved to Utah, not one person, and I've lived there now for 31 years, not one person has ever asked me where I've gone to college. Not one person. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Like, you are what you do and how you show up in the world.
I want to get into all of that, but first we got to let the people know. What would you say your like title is?
Well, I'm a founder of a number of companies. One is Impact Partners, which is turning 20 next year, and we've been financing social impact documentaries for 20 years. And then I'm a founder of a company called Jolt, which is trying to distribute movies that are discovered at festivals but not bought by streamers. They say that 80% of anything coming out of Sundance or Cannes is seen by less than 2 million people. And so my thinking is, well, if 80% of what we make is seen by less than 2 million people, but there are 2 million people that want to see it, there's got to be some business model for a smaller, like a farm league, or because you still need independent cinema to discover the Chloe Zhaos and the Ryan Cooglers of the world.
I love Chloe Zhao.
You know, you have to have it. It's not like a farm team, but it is a pipeline for artist development and discovery. When I started out in this business, 8 out of 10 films were sold at Sundance.
Wow.
That's why you had to get into Sundance.
Yeah.
Especially in documentaries.
And now it's, what'd you say?
1 out of 24.
Wow.
It's changed so dramatically.
That's shocking.
Yeah.
So when you're using your fund to fund these films, that makes you an executive producer on them?
Yeah, so basically we set up our fund, which is not really a fund, it's an advisory service. It's called Impact Partners. And we have 45 high net worth individuals that commit $100,000 a year to invest. And when I say invest, I mean equity or philanthropic, in 8 to 10 projects a year. So we bring them 8 to 12 projects. So we look at 1,100 projects.
I also imagine the appeal to it, like this would be my guess for people that are super high net worth, is that like there's such a disparity of wealth among people, and like a lot of the stuff that your documentaries focus on is like issues in the world. So I don't know, I would think that like high net worth people feel like they're probably contributing to help society.
Right. Well, I think
that like,
I think what's unique about films and journalism in general is that if you can break above the noise, such an overused word right now, but the algorithm is like, with storytelling, it has an algorithm of its own. If it breaks out and becomes a word of mouth and people are sharing like, the insights. I mean, I don't know if you've gone to see Project Hail Mary, but I had like 100 people tell me you have to see this movie. So of course I went.
What did you think of it?
I loved it.
Why? Can you tell me why?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I thought just at the time that I thought the world was coming to an end, we were going to eradicate a civilization, and our business is never going to recover. Comes this charming, refreshing, smart E.T. for the next generation. And it's doing well in box offices. The set design was incredible. I think Ryan Gosling was incredible.
He was amazing.
Yeah, they all were. I mean, and the premise, the conceit of it was, you know, people had to work together to solve a problem. And
I just wish it was like 45 minutes shorter.
That's interesting.
But I liked it. I definitely went to go see it, and like everybody was talking about it. You have over 180, is that correct?
Yeah.
Film credits. I wanted to watch all of them, and then I decided I couldn't. But you funded one of my favorite movies of all time.
What's that?
Franca, Chaos and Creation.
Oh my God, isn't that beautiful? I love her. She was an amazing woman. So her son directed that movie.
Yeah. Did you meet her?
Oh yeah.
I love her.
Oh yeah. And we premiered the movie at Venice, and she had cancer and she died shortly afterwards.
But she got to see the premiere.
But the most amazing thing is that her son met his wife,
which is Anna Wintour's daughter, right?
Right, and they were rivals, like Anna Wintour and Franca.
Because for the listeners who don't know, Franca was the longtime editor of Italian
Vogue, and she changed fashion and she made it political, and she had like black fashion models long before anybody else did, and she had this like long, beautiful white hair, and she was just, you know, gorgeous and inside and out. Yeah, so it was sort of her son's love song, you know.
So wait, so her son, and obviously like Franca and Anna were rivals, and then her son, so like by nature it's like a Romeo and Juliet story, and then they met at the festival and fell in love.
And then they got married. So she was able to see the movie and see her son marry her rival's daughter. So it was like a merger. It was like a fashion merger.
Yeah. Did they become friends ever?
Yes, they
Anna
did.
And Franca?
They did. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's such a great part of this story.
Yeah.
Do you watch all the movies that you fund?
Oh yeah, you have to.
What are your favorites?
Oh my goodness. There's some smaller titles that most people don't know about. There's one called Alive Inside, which is, I think, my favorite one. It's about music and memory and Alzheimer's. And my father just recently died of Alzheimer's, and my mom has Alzheimer's now. So
Wow.
at the time, I wasn't motivated because of that, but now I can understand it. And it's really about how music is the last part of your brain that you lose.
Mm-hmm.
It's at the bottom of your amygdala, and that if you listen to music that's from your generation, not just music that you would know, but actually music that you grew up with.
That made an impact on your life.
So there's a song that maybe you danced to at your wedding, or there was a song that you sang in a choir. They have to have personal meaning to you. So like if you made a playlist of music for people while they're alive, as they get older and they lose their memory, music, they remember the words, they can still sing, and they can get a lot of their language back, and they're less agitated, and they have to take less drugs, and so that was a fun one. And
so just on that note, my mom, she likes to like help us do research for the show, and she was so excited to research you, and she heard one of your interviews where you're talking about that, so she watched that movie. She literally sent an email to me, and that subject is like sending this to every single person I know about Alive Inside, because her mom, my Nana, just recently, she actually died last Valentine's Day, which I think is really cute, because she was just like so lovely. But she had Alzheimer's or dementia, I guess. I don't really know the difference. My mom would like play a song that she might have known, and if she started singing along, she would add it to the playlist, and it was so sweet.
Yeah, so easy. And so that one was a real surprising. There's another film called Dina, and it's about a woman. She was like a Walmart greeter, and it's this love story of these two people that live in very neurodiverse worlds, and this sort of social awkwardness of their conditions, but how they break through and have sort of a love relationship, and it's very sweet. And it's surprising, like surprisingly tender. Right now, I'm working on a film that I think is going to be so huge. It's called the Telepathy Tapes. I don't know if you've listened to that podcast.
Yes, a lot of people have told me about it.
Yeah.
So you're making a film based off of that podcast?
Yeah, so the director of the podcast is a documentary filmmaker, and she got interested in non-speaking autistic people and how they could communicate through spelling, even though they couldn't use language.
Wow.
And what they found is that there were people that they could read each other's minds, and they had this whole ability to communicate without using language. And so she became very curious as a scientist to figure out, well, is this really true? How do we know that it's true?
Yeah.
And so she went on this long journey, and she brought it to every single studio, and every studio said, "This is the best pitch I've ever seen."
Wow.
But no, thank you. And then
but why?
Because
they didn't think it was commercially
they
viable?
didn't think that people would care. I don't really know, because I wasn't involved at that part. And so her wife said, "This is crazy. You should just start your own podcast." And then 130 million people later, she passes Joe Rogan on a podcast, and then all the studios come racing back saying, "Can we buy? We want to represent you for a book. We want to represent you for a film deal. We want to
That's such an Okay Sweetie moment. I don't know if you I don't even know if we sent you it, but our podcast is called Okay Sweetie because like those moments where people dismiss you or like underestimate you, definition of an Okay Sweetie moment right there. Like all these studios like, great pitch, but no. And then she's like, I'm actually just gonna go do it on my own.
Yeah. No, we're making a movie right now, and it's about a really greedy private equity company that bought up all American rifles, and their goal was to have 1 in 3 Americans own a gun, and then to have 1 in 3 Americans own an A16, an A15.
What? That's insane.
And so what they did was they did product placement with Call of Duty, and they did advertising to 8 to 12-year-old boys. And it's all like, man up, get your man card, like, you know, and so these kids...
Sorry, keep going, but like, why is that a good thing for people to have guns? 1 in 3 people.
It's not, I don't think it's a good thing. I think from a safety point of view, I think it's a terrifying thing. But I think that the ability to market and use the psychology on an 8-year-old kid that stays in their bedroom doing Call of Duty all day, and then we were able to prove, or the film was able to prove through a legal investigation, that the last biggest school shootings, like in Sandy Hook, were done right after somebody had watched Call of Duty. Like, they had the same gun, they had the hand wrapped the same way, they leaned in.
Whoa.
It's forensically, it's like they went and they did what they just, you know, and so they're being trained to, like, numb and shoot people. And this kid that you know, he turned 18. The only thing he wanted was an A16. His mother was a school teacher at Sandy Hook, but she had no relationship with her kids. She was a single mom, and she used to go to gun ranges just to try to connect with him. And so she bought him an A16 for his 18th birthday, and then he went and massacred all these people. It was...
Why can't we just buy, like, a handgun? Like, why does it always have to be an assault rifle?
Well, we tried to get rid of assault rifles. Clinton tried to get rid of them, and then it was overturned. And now there were only 10 companies that were manufacturing A16 rifles before this company, Cerebus, got into the business. And now there's 500 manufacturing them. And it's like everybody has their own version of an A16. It used to be trademarked, and now it's...
You should at least make everyone who buys a gun has to go to anger management and therapy.
Right.
Like, at bare minimum.
Yeah.
Like, because people just get mad. I get mad. Not anymore. I have gotten mad and, like, thrown a phone.
Yeah.
Not at a person, but, like, on the ground. Like, you do crazy shit sometimes when you're mad.
Yeah.
What films have you worked on that you feel like have had the most social change and impact?
Well, for sure, I would say the body of work that we did with around sexual assault, so whether it was Invisible War or The Hunting Ground or Off the Record, I think that before those movies, you couldn't even talk about rape or sexual assault. It was just, people danced around it. So culturally, I think the idea that people can acknowledge, you know, this happened to me, nobody believed me, and now there's more people talking about it, and there's, you know, more distinctions in the world where people will know when they're being groomed for sexual assault or you know, an unfair or asymmetrical power relationship.
Yeah.
And so those films, I think, have had a huge impact culturally, the way that I think LGBT cinema has had a huge impact on just people's not being afraid of sexual preferences or gender fluidity, because people got to meet them through stories. And so...
it's a cool way to put it.
Yeah, and then we had a film called Icarus that was about doping and the illegal doping that Russia was doing in the Olympics. And then we got Russia banned from the Olympics, and they're still banned from the Olympics.
Wow.
And that's been like a real sore spot in Putin's ego. But it's also an example of how dictators like Putin use things like the World Cup and the Olympics to show their masculine superiority, right? He was the lowest of the low in the polls before Sochi. After Sochi, he had like a 76 approval rating. And the week after Sochi, he invaded Crimea. And the person that was in charge of doping all the athletes felt like he had blood on his hand because he had family that lived in Crimea. And he decided to be a whistleblower and say, you know, all of this is cheating. Russia's been cheating. And then we were able to prove it.
So your films are literally changing, like, administration.
Well, they're changing.
Probably not the right way to put it.
I mean, well, they change policy for sure. They change policy. They have. There's been consequences because of the movie, like that have happened.
Of course, but anyone, you know, if you take a risk, there's
Yeah,
well-behaved women rarely make history.
That's true. But there's, you know, usually you have a goal in mind when you're making a film. You say, we think this has the potential to change this law.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's really about what we understand to be so versus what we understand to be true. And the delta between what is so and what is true is really about the questions, the quality of the questions that you ask. And
the stories that you're being told,
right.
and like the way that people are ingesting them
right.
and actually buying them, because people love stories and people like want to have hope and things like that. So have you always been really smart and known about everything going on in the world, or is this something that's a product of your career? Well, I wish I was like
I think that being in this kind of business, I mean, you're doing a podcast, you get to do deep dives with people that are interesting, and you get to learn that way. That's the way I learned. I grew up in an environment, my mother was a teacher, my father was a teacher and a football coach. So I grew up in an environment where reading was a big part of our family's culture, and there were always interesting conversations at the dinner table, usually about politics. It was in the 1960s, so my parents were involved with civil rights, and then there was the whole women's liberation movement. My parents ended up getting divorced through that period. So I grew up in a time when there was a lot of social change and a lot of,
We read that your mom raised you with Gloria Steinem ideals.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about that?
Well, she just was a huge follower of Gloria Steinem's. I remember my aunt gave me a subscription to Ms. Magazine when I was like in the 4th grade, and I couldn't wait to get that magazine. I always wanted to know about things that people didn't talk about. So Ms. Magazine was talking about, like, one of their first issues were women admitting they had an abortion. It was like wow.
Oh my gosh, that would inspire the shit out of me, especially when I was a little girl.
When you're little, yeah. So I think that, Jane Fonda and Gloria Steinem and Pat Mitchell and this woman Eve Ensler, they all were incredibly culturally impactful on my mother.
Wow.
Who then exposed us to kind of their ways of thinking.
And then full circle, didn't Gloria Steinem gave you flowers, right?
Yeah.
Proverbial flowers on misrepresentation.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it was very special, actually. She's a remarkable woman. Oh, I think she's 98 or something. She's
crazy. We were just looking into her last night. She's like for sure in her 90s, but killing it. Like she's like going on podcasts and stuff like that.
Yeah, and next week I'm going to be co-hosting a musical at BAM with Jane Fonda, who's 88, and what I've learned from those particular women, is they've all supported each other. Right. Jane shows up for anything that Gloria wants her to do. Gloria shows up for anything that, it's like, and they've all started their own organizations, and they're all standing on each other's shoulders. I look at them and I think about Maria Shriver was in an interview with Oprah once and talked about this master class in friendship. Like when you live through a divorce, when you live through being ridiculed or, being told your magazine's going to fail, by every single investor, and it doesn't, and other people have your backs, and that kind of bond of a friendship is like, you just don't, you learn to trust yourselves and each other more than you do what the marketplace tells you.
It's like the whole point. I was thinking about this last night. If women didn't support each other, like, and we just kind of let men do what they have been doing, we would just be like still products of men. Like it's all a product of women coming together and supporting each other and like having those relationships. But it's just like a direct impact of storytelling too.
Yeah, and all of the women that we talked about are great storytellers.
Right.
They understand the power of story.
But also, like, that doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from having the confidence to, like, find your voice. So I'm thinking about the misrepresentations sort of movies. I'm so excited for the second one. There was a part in it where someone was talking about all of the money that women spend on cosmetic procedures or makeup, anything to enhance their appearance could just be money spent on, like, education. And that would get them further. But my thought was like, but would it actually get them further? Like, I want to know your thoughts of, there is so much social capital in beauty. Like, it is very much rewarded. There's a reason that, and I don't think that's right. It makes me, like, it breaks my heart. It makes me so sad for women. But I just want to know your thoughts on, like, the women who do use that to their advantage.
How you show up in the world is a reflection of, it tells you a lot. I feel like, showing up and paying attention to what you look like and what you're wearing it gives people information about you when you're talking to them, and it's important to not underestimate that or to take that for granted. feeling good about yourself and in being in your body and feeling good about your body is really important and fundamental to how you show up in the world. And
yeah, that's my opinion too. And I feel sad for when the women are targeted or villainized for it. I'm like, it's not the women, it's the system. Like if that didn't give us social capital, we wouldn't be doing that as much, probably. One thing that I love about you is that we heard multiple times that you don't take no for an answer.
I don't think you can if you believe in something. You have to figure your way around it.
What's the strategy there? Someone says no to you.
I always feel like when I'm bringing somebody an opportunity of a film or anything that's charitable, that it's an invitation. It's something that you can say yes or no to, and that it's an offering. So I'm not attached to the outcome if they say no. Mm-hmm. I think it's fascinating. I'll be like,
explain it,
or tell me what your concerns or your reservations are, and help me know why you're not interested, because I really thought this was lined up so on brand for you. So I do it in a very respectful way, but then we just keep saying, okay, well, what's our next concentric circle? Who else would understand the importance of this story and why it's always, for me, it's always about how do these stories amplify and align with things you're already doing that make your job easier.
Yeah.
So I'm always saying, look, this story is only going to elevate what you've spent 90% of your workday.
You make it easy for them.
We want to make it as easy as possible for you to do the right thing and let the story do the job.
Right.
And it's fun. There's way too many people that are in philanthropy or are successful business people, and they don't have enough fun.
Yeah.
And film is really fun. And so that's what, and I feel like that's our job, is to give people an opportunity to participate in something that's creative and fun, and protect them from the things that aren't fun and messy and sloppy and bad contracts and
creativity is fun.
Yeah,
it's interesting to me that you use fun to describe the word. I completely agree, but at the same time, a lot of your films that you funded have such heavy subject matters.
Yeah,
obviously you believe, and I believe, and it's like an inarguable fact, pretty much, that storytelling changes the world, which is a hopeful perspective. But you're also seeing these very dark corners of the world. Yeah. So how does that affect the way that you view the world?
Well, I think that the kinds of films that we like to do, we're not afraid to take on dark issues, but we want to make them in a way that raises the vibration versus making people be afraid or, feel the sliminess. If I was just constantly making films about sex trafficking and you just felt like you were in these brothels, chained to the beds with these mothers and their kids underneath them, that's not raising the vibration. It's making you aware of something, but you want to be able to show people what exists and what is true, and then also find ways for them to be part of a conversation that feels like there's something you can do.
There's a positive outcome that comes to it. So that's kind of how you balance that heaviness with lightness in your own personal life.
And I also just think that when you make films that are, pointing the finger, it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's people don't want to be yelled at in that way.
They don't want to be shamed or blamed for things.
Yeah,
you can point some things out. You can say, "Isn't this interesting? Do we really need this woman to have an A16 rifle coming out of her vagina in a bathing suit to sell this? Is that really how we're going to sell this rifle?
Right.
And why are we selling this rifle?
Yeah.
You don't have to sort of say, you're a terrible rifle company because you put this rifle between, the body parts of this woman in a bikini. Let somebody just say, oh, that was in bad
You can tell
taste.
the whole story about it and let them come to their own conclusion. And then be like,
so it's just, I think part of it is just how much finger pointing do you do? And I don't think it works. So.
Yeah, that's a really, really smart way to put it. I would say that for most things in the world, coming from Harvard and having that sort of transactional ecosystem there, what made you want to get into rooting for the underdog as opposed to just trying to make a buck in the movie industry at large?
Well, I was always interested in journalism. I was always interested in stories that were, that needed to be told. I believe that stories are here for protect a democracy.
I say that all the time.
Know,
there's
so
no
it's
checks
like,
and balances if there's no storytelling.
They're here to remind us that of how imperfect we are. We're towards a more perfect union, but how imperfect we are, and that it's on us to sort of see that kind of work in progress that has to be kind of, we have to breathe life into the Constitution every single day.
Yeah.
It's not going to do it on its own.
Yeah. I love that. That's such a beautiful way of putting it.
For me, it's not just about the underdog. I mean, I do think I'm drawn to stories with people that kind of overcome things, because I think that's like
it's really hard to do that.
Well, it's a classic epic journey when people overcome really big obstacles and come out the other side. Usually the stories behind the stories teach you more than the actual stories, like why did this person become the social entrepreneur that they are?
Yeah.
What happened to them that made them so deeply motivated? And it's usually, something pretty fundamental. Like they were bullied, or they were beaten, or they were...
It's like Hitler with the paint. He was bullied, right? And he was like...
So there's usually something at the core.
Yeah. And it's also more relatable, I think. Like, it's very human. People can connect to that and have empathy towards that. Mm-hmm. This is kind of a big question, but do you have any, beliefs about humankind as a whole, seeing how close you've been to very far sides of the spectrum of, such ultimate goodness and then, such ultimate darkness?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely believe that my reality is different than your reality, but my reality is mirrored by what I consume in terms of stories or content, and so the world that's reflected to me is the world that I choose to be informed by. So I think that all of us are transistor radios, and we can change the channel. We can tune into a different story or a different frequency at any time, and it's up to us to be curious about it.
A lot of your subject matter is about sexual assault and sex trafficking and trauma and stuff. Were you drawn to that because there's any sort of personal connection?
Yeah. I was sexually abused when I was 13 years old by the grandfather of a family that lived here in New York City, and that I used to come down on every Jewish holiday to babysit. And so I was sexually abused by an older gentleman who's since died. And it was the hardest part about it was when I tried to tell my mother, she said, "Welcome to the club." She was just like, "This is what men do to women." And I was like, I think that was, probably even harder than the actual sexual abuse. I was so stunned by it. It was like a drop mic moment. I was on the phone. We had this yellow phone with a long telephone cord back then in our kitchen, and I just dropped the phone. I couldn't believe my mother was actually saying that, and she wasn't a bad person, but she herself had been sexually abused.
Yeah, were you shocked by the reality that's the reality of womanhood, or
yeah, I was more shocked by the fact that she didn't get up out of her chair, or she didn't go to hug me or want to talk about it. And we had to process it for years, was 30 years, and lots of films later. She finally saw the movie that we did called The Tale, that Laura Dern stars in, and Ellen Bernstein plays the mother, and she realizes that as a mother she knew a lot more, and she didn't do anything about it, and she apologized.
Yeah, wow.
And I think that
you guys had that moment of reckoning.
Yeah, I mean, I think the power of an apology just cannot be underestimated in our life as a tool. I mean, really, I raise my kids saying the two most important things that you have to learn how to say is, I'm sorry and thank you and I love you. That's your job. When you're wrong, you need to say you're sorry.
And in the apology sense, it's not ever too late. You're saying it was 30 years later. No. Had she let herself be held back by the fact that it's too late?
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, so V. Ensler, I don't know how much you know her work, but she started V-Day, and she started a play called The Vagina Monologues.
Oh, yeah.
And she's done a lot around incest, and she wrote a book called The Apology Project that she's now adapting into a play. And it's basically the letter that she wrote to herself that she wished she had gotten from her father.
Wow.
That would have made things okay.
From her father?
Yeah, because her father she had been a victim of incest her for a big part of her life. And so it's sort of like this idea, like you might not ever get the apology from the person that, wronged you or robbed you of your childhood or your, whatever, your innocence. But imagine if you wrote the letter to yourself that you needed to get. And that in and of itself can be kind of like life altering.
What was in the letter? Because in my mind, just how could anything... Well, it's such a complicated relationship because it's like there's this one this one guy named Jason Ellis. I don't know if you ever heard. He's like a super masculine WWE fighter guy or whatever, and he went on Howard Stern once and talked at nauseum, at length about getting molested by his dad, but how he still like loves his dad.
Yeah.
And that's so like complicated to me. So when you sit and say that like she wrote a letter to herself of what she wishes her dad could have said, naively, I'm like, how could he have ever said anything that could make that forgiveness possible? I
think even if somebody said, I don't know why I did this, I never should have.
I shouldn't have.
And I'm so sorry that I did, and it wasn't fair to you, and I'm deeply ashamed, and I have to live with that regret. But I've watched you go through a process where you've been able to help other people not have to live with the silence and shame that you lived with because of what I did to you. Mm-hmm. And I'm proud of you. Imagine if he had been able to say that to her before he died.
Yeah. That is like definition of the power of love and the power of forgiveness, which are some of the sweetest things in human life. So did you ever do like therapy or anything, or was it mostly through the films that you were able to like come to?
No, I've done a lot of
You've
therapy.
done all the things.
I mean, I haven't done everything, but I'm very curious, and I'm always learning. I teach, and that's one of my favorite things. And I always say to my students, did you pick the story or did the story pick you? And you better know the difference. Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that? Because I heard you say that in an interview, and I was wondering.
Well, it took me a while to figure out, I just made 5 films on sexual assault. Maybe I made these because this happened to me.
Yeah.
So that story I didn't go in saying, I'm going to make a film about sex trafficking because this happened to me when I was 13 years old.
Yeah.
But you do this, you're drawn to a body of work, and you end up, I ended up seeing how powerful it was to just say to a little girl who was my age when she was trafficked, I'm so sorry this happened to you. It never should have happened to you. And that I felt like if someone had said that to me, it would have made a difference.
Yeah.
And so
And that picked you. That would be an example of the story picking you.
Yeah.
How does it feel when people come up? Like, does that happens to you a lot when young women will come up to you and be like, this literally changed my life. Thank you. Like, you're changing people's lives.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, listen, the definition of gratitude is really that it's really receivership. It's already happened. I believe that, storytelling is a way back to who we are. It's like about remembrance. So, your job is like
without all the bullshit.
Yeah, your job is you grow up, you go out, you figure out what you're good at, you in the world, being who you are in the world. But then your job is to remember like where you came from and what are your values and
yeah. Do you ever struggle with a sense of purpose?
Well, I think that right now I would say that the questions I ask myself is, what is my highest purpose? Do I just keep making good films because I know how to do that, or is there a smarter way to be working? And what are the most important stories? What are the biggest existential threats to be paying attention to? So for me, AI is really, it's a whole new world, and it's something I'm learning about because I'm excited by the possibilities to make movies less expensively so that people can continue to tell stories and make them in this country. And I'm also very worried about what AI can do to our brains.
Speaking of the Oscars, you have 2 of your films that have won Oscars. Did you get this? Did you get the Oscar?
No, so executive producers don't get Oscars. You have to be a
How many
producer.
did they give out?
It depends on the category. For Born into Brothels, I was an executive producer, and there were 2 directors, so the 2 directors got it.
Do you wish you got it?
No, I don't. I mean, I'm just happy that the films get recognized. So,
You're pure.
They have to have some defining distinctions between someone that just writes a check versus somebody that actually was on set every day making the movie.
Yeah. Are you in between the just write the check and the on set every day?
We finance the movies, so we're very rarely on set. I mean, there's been like 4 or 5 movies that I've actually produced, not executive produced, and traveled with the team, and
cool.
And I love that, but you can't do many of those a year.
Right.
You have to make a decision.
Which one?
I personally love being able to know that we have 8 to 10 films a year that are being made.
Yeah.
And we're troubleshooting and we're helping filmmakers, like they hit a roadblock or they hit a pothole, and I love being able to help problem solve.
Yeah.
For my temperament, it's better that I do a lot of things at once than just one thing.
I have a random question, not at all.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
My brother is a filmmaker, and we were debating, like, if you had to rank what's the most important part of a movie in terms of, like, the editing, the music, the dialogue, the cinematography, which one would you pick? He's very passionate that it's the music.
Well,
yeah.
I'm very passionate that it's editing, but I think music is a character in and of itself, and it can absolutely make or break a film. And so music is so important. But to me, your way into a story and how you logically unfold, how you reveal a story is all in the editing. So I think like the editor is so underappreciated, and oftentimes an editor is making the film even more than a director is, because they know how to put the story together.
Do you ever watch like reality TV or like stupid ass movies like How High or like Pineapple Express?
I did watch Pineapple Express. I don't like reality television, I have to say.
I don't either.
The fact that my kids love these like housewives, I'm just like, how can you watch that? Like, you can't get that time back.
Did you like Pineapple Express?
I thought it was the parts of it that I thought were funny. I mostly thought it was kind of like chauvinistic and silly.
Yeah. So I mentioned before, we named our show the Okay Sweetie Show for moments when you've been okay sweetie, dismissed, condescended to, underestimated, and you can take a sec to think about it if you need to, but we love to ask our guests, what is your okay sweetie moment?
I mean, it happens to me all the time. I can't tell you.
I'm sure.
How many times I'll say something and someone will tell me it's not a good idea, and then someone will say this exact same thing that's a man, and they'll be like, that's incredible. I'm like, I just said that.
That is maddening.
It's very frustrating. Yeah. When we started Impact Partners, people said you can't finance documentary films with equity, and people were very angry with us because they felt like we were exploiting documentary filmmakers by investing money that they had to pay back, as opposed to we were advancing capital, accelerating capital, so you can get your film done in a shorter amount of time, and then move on to make your next film. So we had to really think about, no, you're not making me rich or my investors rich. We're just.
It's not the point of this.
We're getting our money back. You're standing on the shoulders of Lucy Walker's Crash Reel. The fact that was sold to HBO is the reason why we get to now finance your film.
Right.
So it's not your model is about scarcity. Ours is about regenerative and abundance.
Yeah.
And you have to think about resources and capital in different ways. It's not the enemy. It's necessary.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's like you're doing it to make change, tell stories, whereas it's not about getting rich.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Even though sometimes I'm sure you have to think about that. We have some rapid fires.
Okay, great.
We have names for each guest. We like to name them specific. Emily's idea was Sweetie-mentory.
No, other way around.
Emily's idea was Docusweetary. My idea was Sweetie-mentory. And then the third idea was Docusweetary. So we want to know which one you think is the best.
Or none.
Tell me the first one again.
Docusweety, Sweetie-mentory, or Docusweetary.
I think I like Docusweetary.
Yeah, Docusweetary. That is like objectively the best one because it's a combo platter. What's your favorite movie?
Oh, my favorite movie, I would have to say, is The Piano or The English Patient.
I don't know those ones.
Yeah, they're worth
Tonight.
discovering.
We can watch them tonight.
The English Patient.
Do you watch shows, TV shows?
Yep.
What kind of shows do you like?
Shows like Homeland. I love shows.
My mom loves Homeland.
Yeah, I mean, I love, good narrative writing, I think.
What about Grey's Anatomy?
Grey's Anatomy is great.
It's one of the greatest shows of all time.
Yeah.
Never written. What about like Gossip Girl or Sex and the City?
Sex and the City, I think, is so funny, and it's so smart. The writing in it's so smart, and it was just so culture bending at the time. At its time.
Do you feel like it's feminist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
Me too. But also, like, not. Like, I do, but also, like, they really are just... It's hard because they're talking about men the whole time, but they do have, like, careers and all these things. I don't know, whatever. I love it. It's a perfect show, otherwise. Have you heard about this, like, Melania Trump lore?
You mean the movie or?
Yeah, the doc that was just made.
Yeah, I haven't watched the doc. My feeling is that both she and her husband have been extortionists, and they just are extractive people that take advantage of their positions of power for money, and that they charged a lot of money for a movie to be made, and they made a lot of money on it. Shame on Jeff Bezos for capitulating and doing it, because it's not a good movie. But, you know, they spent $40 million marketing it, and 10 million people went to see it in the box office. So
does that piss you off?
I don't know what it does. It makes me feel like people have the right to see a movie. They have the right to advertise something that they made. I wish it was spent on different movies and more movies that could have been made for $40 million? Yeah, I do, but I can't let that.
It's like not worth your energy.
I'm not falling on that sword. It's not worth my time. That just takes up too much real estate for me.
Should Marty Supreme have won the Oscar?
No.
Or Timothy.
Did you watch it? What did you think of Marty Supreme?
Oh, well, I actually think Timothy Chalamet is a great actor.
Same, I love him.
He was fantastic in the film. I didn't like him or any of the characters. I didn't feel like they were redeeming. I felt like I understood the drive and the obsession with, you know, being seen and, you know, being good at what you're doing and becoming a celebrity. But I didn't think it was the best movie of the year.
Yeah, I would like same. Because he fucked over so many people.
Yeah.
And then what I really wanted was for him to like win and make money and like pay everyone back.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be more Hollywood with this storyline.
With the ending.
The ending. Is there any one person, like an actress or a director that you want to work with that you haven't worked with yet?
I think that Sarah Polley she's one of my favorite directors. She did When Women Were Talking, and she did a movie on Alzheimer's, and she's doing a new movie that we're financing right now called The Bell Jar, and Billie Eilish is going to star in it. And I think that's
the Sylvia Plath?
Yeah, the Sylvia Plath.
When is that going to come out?
Well, they're raising the money for it right now.
Okay, so a couple years.
Yeah, it will be out for her next stadium tour.
I've had that book. Every time I look at it, I'm like, I should read it.
Yeah.
Like, it's always around.
Yeah.
So I will for that.
Yeah.
If there's like anywhere that you want to direct the listeners about you or about any projects that are coming up, or just Jolt or Impact Fund, anything.
Just checking out the films that we have on Jolt, it would be great, because I think they're beautiful films, and I always like to discover things that are kind of hidden gems, and so that's one thing. And then Impact Partners has a website, and you can sort of see what our films are doing and where they are in the world.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what's next for you.
Yeah, get ready for the Telepathy Tapes. That one's going to be like, buckle
so
up, Buttercup.
Cool.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool.
Thank you so much, Geralyn.
Yes.
Yeah, great conversation with just an iconic woman. Sometimes I get a little bit nervous and intimidated by just like the success and intelligence of women like that, because I tend to be a little bit more silly and things like that, but she's just like so smart and so accomplished and so doing such important shit, and we love her, and we're so grateful that she came and sat down with us and told us about her story. We hope you guys liked it. Next week's episode is going to be amazing. In the comments, let us know what your favorite documentary is. Thank you so much for listening and watching and following and subscribing.